Good morning there, DBF family. Got the 092 CR500 back in the garage today. Today, we are gonna see if we can outfit this thing with some modern style front forks that are a direct bolt on. So let's get after it. So the bike I'm using for the front forks on this project is a 2006 Honda CRF 250F that had a blown up motor. I purchased it from a local guy here in town that was on Facebook Marketplace. Don't recall, but I think I paid $400 for the entire bike, all the parts and pieces, and the blown up engine parts that came with it. And now when I say this is gonna be a direct bolt on, that's kind of true, but it's not true. We're gonna have a little bit of help with some all balls racing conversion bearings, and they've got their website set up where you can go in, pick the machine that you're riding, and pick the forks of the machine that you want to go on the bike that you're riding. And they've done all the calculating and the whatever, and they've done the research to figure out what bearings will help convert a set of triple clamps and forks from a newer bike to go into an older bike frame. So that's what we're going to use today. I've honestly never done this. I've had a couple buddies that have done it, but I've never done it. But let me show you why I'm actually converting these 06 forks over to the 92 frame instead of just running the stock forks. So here I've got the stock 1992 CR500 front forks, and honestly, they're not in horrible shape. I mean, they've obviously need some polishing and you know, some recoating on the uppers and you know, stuff like that. But this side is the better of the two. The biggest reason I'm going to swap these forks over is this one right here on the brake side. Let's see if I can find it. Should be able to find it like Ray Charles. I mean, holy crap, I'm blind. If you look really close, right there, it's got a pretty good hooner, ding, whatever you want to call it, right there in that lower fork leg. So two problems. When you would ride this bike, it would come up, compress the suspension, and all the oil would leak out of it and just leave a heck of a mess. Second of all is it's bent so bad that the lower fork tube is actually egg-shaped just a little bit, and it would get caught in the bushing and the front suspension would stick down. So you'd have to reach down, kind of put your foot on the front wheel and pull the suspension up to get it to release from inside the bushings. I tried to find a lower fork tube, and the ones I could were in not that much better shape than these ones, and they were ridiculous expensive. So we're gonna do the next best thing. We're gonna go with some front forks that we know we can get parts for, and I like these front forks off the 06 era. They're great, they use them forever. I've ran them on lots of my bikes. I've had quite a few 06 era chassis and dirt bikes, and they're great. They're simple, parts are available, so that's the route we're gonna go. Ooh, stay there. Come off. Not to mention, gives you a little bit better front brakes with this setup. Throw that bolt anywhere. Oh, hey, I'm back. Yeah, a little bit better front brakes on these newer bikes. So, you know, I know what you're saying. Brakes are for quitters, but when I need some whoa, I need some whoa. So we're gonna save everything. Brake caliper, hoses, which we will replace, but master cylinder, all that good stuff, you know. That's just, if you buy the whole bike, you don't have to mill pieces together. down. Boy, listen to how crispy these bearings are. Yeah, those things are in a bad way, I'm guessing. Maintain your steering steer bearings once in a great while. I know it's hard to think of. Guilty. But just once in a while, tear this all apart and just put just a little dab of grease in there. Crisco, butter, peanut butter. I don't care what you use, but just a little bit. Don't use butter or peanut butter. Just saying. Those are the pieces we were after on the old 06 donor frame. So at this point, I'm going to take this thing and go throw it out in the street somewhere, I guess. Not sure what to do with it. Maybe I'll call the eBay guy and see if he wants to come up and buy this thing for parts, because I have no use for this thing anymore. Yeah, I think that's what we're gonna do. Let's get her gone. Watch out, coming in hot. All right guys, now we got all our parts. First step is to remove this lower bearing right here. And these can be kind of tricky. I know they actually make a remover, an installer for these actual steering stem bearings. I'm too cheap to buy one, so I'm gonna use the tools I have. First thing you do is you take some nice wire cutters basically, and you cut the outer cage off of the inner race of the bearing right here, like so. And then I'm gonna take the bearing splitter, like this, go down on there, tighten it down on the inner race, and then put my extensions on here, and then we'll just use the bearing splitter to push against the steering stem here, trying not to mess up the threads on the end of the steering stem, and it should pull that inner bearing, inner race right off of the stem. So, see what we can do. All the old triple clamps are getting cleaned up in the old hot sonic tank cleaner. I'm going to take and I'm going to install the new races into this neck. Now, obviously, you got it tore apart, right? Meow. So that was a great time to reach in and give it a little solvent. You can use brake clean on there, clean out all the grease and the debris and whatnot, and tap that baby in with the old race driver. Do the same thing on the top. Ready to rock. Oh yeah. Ew. Gross. So we went ahead and did a little bit of cleanup and polishing on these triple clamps with the old buffing wheel, and those turned out pretty decent. Now once I get this all mocked up and into place, I'll actually tear this back down apart, and I'll decide what kind of coating I want to put on these, or whether or not I just want to go full-blown polish on these things. While I had it tore apart, I went ahead and I pressed the new seal, the spacer, the new seal, and the lower bearing on, and we're ready to put this thing into place. So let's go stuff this thing through the neck and see if it'll all fit together. May not fit, I don't know. All right, let's see what we can do here. Top bearing and seal. Try to get the seal down into place where it's supposed to live. Come on, you little devil, just like that. Oh, it doesn't want to stay in there. There we go. It'll go. Then the new spacer, the top. The seal's being stubborn, isn't it? Might have to work that in once we get the nut started. And the nut. Start to tighten it down. See if we can work that sill in. Old feller might have to go get his glasses. Oh, there it goes. And remember, I'm just putting this all together just kind of as a mock-up. I haven't greased the bearings or anything, so I'm not super worried about the setting the tension and the preload on the bearings correct quite yet. Then, upper clamp, and the washer and the nut. And it looks like everything's gonna work just like it's supposed to. Huh, well, that's pretty awesome. It's literally just as simple as changing some steering stem bearings. Cool. So after a little closer inspection, looks like we got a little bit of a problem. So the steering stops don't quite exactly line up because we've got this spacer that we had to space this apart just a little bit. This iron frame 500 neck is just a little bit narrower than the aluminum frame was, which isn't a big deal, but after looking, this side right here is kind of caved in versus this side, and it makes sense. Because on the old treble clamps, that stop had been broken off. So at some point, somebody did a hard, probably turned hard and went over the bars, and it actually broke the steering stem off and then kind of caved in this stop. So I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut me out a little piece of like 3/8 plate about that big that I can just weld to the bottom of the factory steering stop. We can touch up the white. It should come in contact with the new lower triple clamps and should be good to go. So the last couple evenings I spent a little time on the mill over there and I built this spacer, or I guess new stop is what you'd call it. And as you guys saw, it fits right over the factory stop and it will now contact right here on the corners to make it just a little bit wider for the new lower triple clamp. All that's left now is go ahead and I'm going to tack this thing into place, reassemble everything, and make sure that everything goes lock to lock and it doesn't interfere with the radiators or the tank or anything like that. I think we're really close, but until we actually put it together, no one will know. So let's get this buzzed on real quick and see what it looks like. Lovely. Just loosely tighten this up because we're just in mock-in mode. But check it out. Stop, stop, and check out the clearance for the radiator. Got lots of clearance for radiators. I don't think it'll interfere with the tank anywhere. Got full turn. Be just right. Lock to lock. I'm pretty sure that's going to work great. Awesome. Now all we got to do is rebuild the front forks, clean and rebuild the rear suspension and swing arm, find front rims because I want to change the rims out on this thing, and everything else. It's a lot to do. Hey, we got modern style front forks on an old school iron frame bike. It's awesome. I love it. Well, as you can see, I've gone ahead and I've put this thing back together in a roller. And over the course of the last weekend, I took the rear swing arm off and pressure washed it, sanded it down, and just started to clean it up. And it kind of got out of hand. Ended up polishing the entire rear swing arm, and I mean, it has no purpose other than it's just pretty and shiny. And I'm like a raccoon. I like shiny things. So, but that's pretty much going to wrap up this front fork conversion on this CR500. Now I've gone ahead off camera and I've resealed and cleaned up and rebushing these front forks that are on this thing. I'm going to go ahead and ride this bike the way it is and determine whether or not I need to revalve the front forks or respring this thing all the way around, and kind of get a feel for it and see how I want the suspension to react on this bike, because right now I don't know. So that being said, these conversion kits for these older bikes are awesome, and they're well worth doing, and they're super simple. Basically just changing a couple bearings and races on these things and throwing it together. Gives you a little bit more modern suspension on the front, better brakes on the front, a little bit different handling depending on what forks you put on it. So it's going to be interesting to see how this old iron frame bike rides with this new suspension. Now obviously on the front I'm running the CRF 250 06 CRF 250 front wheel on it, and on the back I'm still running the 92 CR 500 rear wheel. I'm going to replace those, and I'm going to replace those with a Warp 9 wheel. I really like the Warp 9 setup. What I don't know is what color of wheels do I put on this bike. That one. I'm leaning towards the old school gold color, but what do you guys think? What color wheels do you think would look good on this bike? That's about where I'm at. These ones are just to kind of a mock-up, roll this thing around, get it off my stand if I have to. Leave it down in the comments. I'd like to know what your guys' opinion is. As always, I appreciate every single one of you tuning in and watching, and we'll catch you next time.